Tyler hit me up. He said, hey, what's the college football equivalent of the Luka Doncic trade, assuming Commissioner Pate makes rules allowing for such trades? So if you're like me and you couldn't care less about the NBA, you were probably at dinner last night with management, no less. Monthly obligation. And you get a text and you're looking down, it's like breaking news. Okay, yeah, but it involves the Dallas Mavericks. What do I care? Yeah, but you're going to want to check this news. So I checked it. Yes, okay. Even I will admit, pretty big news. So you got Luka goes to LA, you got AD that goes to Dallas, a few other moving parts, don't really care. So I was fine leaving it at that. But then an alarming amount of you hit me and you said, first off, could this ever happen in college football? Well, of course not, given the current structure. But then you said, no, put on your future glasses. Could it happen? Like, there's a lot of stuff that happens right now that if I were to predict a decade ago, you would have run me out of the building. Think about describing NIL a decade ago. Think about describing the portal. Think about going through spring and then losing a bunch of your guys to a rival in your conference and explaining that a decade ago. No one in their right mind would have even paid you attention. So I'm not going to rule anything out for the year 2035. If I'm the commissioner by then, I probably will be. If I'm the commissioner by then, no, we're not going to have trades. That's not on my personal game plan. That's not in my Project 2035, a file I'm working on right now. It's nowhere near complete, but we've got time. I think we've got time. But I will tell you this. There is a scenario that I came up with. It's not exactly like this trade, but it could happen. There is something like this that could happen. So you got the Luka trade, and that sends everyone into a flurry of tweets and panic and whatnot in the NBA. I mean, the Luka trade set the NBA on fire. And everyone's like, well, could that ever happen in college football? Well, not with players. Even if you were able to trade players, I don't think there's any player-for-player swap. Short of like Arch Manning or someone like that moving, I don't think there's like a player-for-player swap that would be that kind of bombshell, because college football players, aside from very, very few exceptions, are not the stars of college football. Coaches are. Historically, coaches have been the superstars because they're around for a long time, and no player who is capable of becoming a star is ever around college football for more than 3 years, sometimes 4 years normally. So how would it happen then? Well, I'll tell you how it would happen. This is rare. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think it's ever happened before. But if you wanted me to, paint a scenario for you, there's one thing that I could see happening. You're going to have to follow me here, because your instinct is going to be to shoot it down really quickly. But just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it can't happen. All right, so there are a few needs for this scenario to play out. Here's what would have to happen. You got to have two head coaches that are not exactly thrilled with their current situation. They're probably both at good programs. They're probably both roughly equal, at least comparable in terms of the caliber of job they have. And for whatever reason, one of them is disgruntled over here for one reason, and the other one's disgruntled over here for another reason. Their athletic directors are on the same page. So let's put some names here. This is purely hypothetical. I cannot overstate that enough. Let's say Kirby Smart at Georgia is tired of having his effectiveness questioned anytime he doesn't win a national championship, and Georgia at the same time is like, man, maybe 10 years is enough, and we want to be better offensively anyway. So if you want to make a break, then we'll agree to make a break. Let's just say that was the dynamic in Athens right now. It's not, but let's say it was. Then let's say over in Oxford, Mississippi, Lane Kiffin was just trying to level up. He's trying to get one of the 5 or so premier jobs in the sport. He thinks he needs to go to a program that caliber to win a championship. And Ole Miss is like, we're not going to continue to do this every year. If you don't appreciate what you have here, then okay, we're not firing you. Certainly we're not firing you. But if you walked away, whatever. And then someone in the room realizes both of those guys have the same agent. Because I think it would take that. The agent would have to be the pivot point. And if one agent represented two guys that were at roughly comparable jobs, and each of them was disgruntled enough to want out, that agent could pitch one on the other job and the other on the initial job, and you could have just basically a swap. And if both the ADs were on board, This is like a 1 in a million type scenario, but I could see a world where if this guy over here is disgruntled enough and that guy's disgruntled enough and the agent's listening to both of them in each of his ears, he just says, hey, three-way call right quick. What would you guys think about swapping jobs? Sounds very Xbox-ish. I will agree with you. It sounds like something EA Sports would implement in the game a lot more than would happen in real life. But short of that, the question posed to me was, what would the equivalent be in college football? We wouldn't have one. Players can't get traded in college football right now. In the future, I still don't think they will be able to be traded, even if they're employees. I'm not sure what the legal mechanisms are there. And then someone said in the comments, would this be like Pate State trading you to Barstool in exchange for Brandon Walker? Yes, I see where you're going there. White hot star, his best days still in front of him, with an overexposed and past his prime asset coming back in return, and I'll let you decide which is which. Yes, I can see where you're going with that, but it would be very mean if I agreed with that, because that's rude. And I should never compare myself to Luka and Brandon Walker to AD in this scenario. That would not be fair. Would not be fair at all. And I want to emphasize, I am not saying that would be a very, very one-sided trade that favored Barstool, and everyone around here would be irate that all they got dropped in their lap was Brandon Walker. I'm not saying that at all. No one heard me say that.